because the government has annexed our money. So it's another pretty nice day today, a little bit cloudy. It's been an unusual summer for Missouri. Figure we only got a couple more months left and we'll probably have to start up the wood stove. Boy, it kind of flew through this year, the summer did. It was so cold for so long through the spring and then pretty mild temperatures. I'm pretty excited about the way things went this year. No eggs. So they gave us 8 yesterday, 6 before that. It's manageable. You figure we eat about 6 eggs a day, and so every other day they give us 8. That's 2 extra that we can put someplace else. They're keeping up with us. Of course, we've got a plan for next year. We're gonna butcher the buff Orpingtons. We incubated all these chickens. We got 15 chickens that we incubated, plus the Brahmas. There's, what, 4 more? And so we'll take out some of the older chickens. That way we can get a rotation. We'll keep the incubated ones. This is what we kind of came up with this morning. Whatever roosters we incubated there, we don't know who's the roosters yet. We'll butcher those. All these incubated ones are at least half Americanas, because Frenchie and Rue are both Americanas, the roosters. Our thinking is even if they mated with a buff Orpington, like these tan ones, I'm sure they're buff Orpingtons, at least half of them are buff Orpingtons. My guess is they'll still produce more eggs because they're at least half Americanas. Americanas produce pretty well through the summer. Get colored eggs out of them. Getting our production up is the point. So I've been talking about the differences between off-grid living and prepping. Off-grid living is a self-sustaining lifestyle, whereas prepping is a stockpiling lifestyle. And I never really hear anybody talk about how to be self-sustaining. And here I just, in 2 minutes of this video, maybe less, I've talked about how we're going to rotate our food. Somebody asked the other day, and I've said this a dozen times, I don't know how we're not catching on. Why don't I have a diversity of food? You know, maybe pigs or rabbits or whatever. Well, I don't need a diversity. Their concern is what if something takes out the chickens, a disease? Well, I don't need to worry about it. I can take whatever eggs I have in the house, which is probably, I don't know, 15 eggs, 20 eggs. I can incubate them and I can start raising those chickens. Then I can eat the stockpile meat, and we got 300 days, and I call it stockpile because I have no better word for it, but that's just our rotation of food. We butcher chickens, we can them up, and we eat the chicken that is in the jars. So we could eat those 300 jars while the new chickens are growing. Once those chickens started laying eggs, we could immediately incubate some more, and within 6 months we'd have our chickens completely replaced, producing eggs. So that's kind of the backup plan. We don't need to diversify because we have a solid backup plan in my mind. And so you don't hear preppers talking about this. They're only talking about stockpiling. Never gonna have enough. The other day I discussed about another prepper saying that if you lost all hope, you lose all your money, you're kicked out of your home, you can buy a van and live in the national forest or state parks. And I was saying how bad that was. That's just a really bad idea. And I'll put a link to that video at the end of this video on the little pop-up here screen. I went into all the reasons why that's a bad idea. First of all, you'd have to buy a van. And so there's money invested that you probably don't have. You have to stay connected to the internet. There's money you don't have. And my suggestion was get a place like this. Cheap place. Buy yourself a shed from Home Depot. And for no more than $15,000, you could be living off-grid. Get yourself some solar panels. I mean, you're gonna have to get solar panels on your van, so why not get solar panels for your house? And then you can start raising chickens, and then you'd be doing what we're doing, where we're growing, we're amplifying our lives. The chickens are money to us. So you'd be making money. If you consider your chickens money, you'd be making money. Whereas in the state parks, you'd be constantly moving. It's stressful. You're always scared. I said, if you think you're gonna be in trouble during this recession, because the government has annexed our money. They spent money they didn't have, so they printed it. That way they could go and spend it on their pet projects, whatever the pet projects were. Well, then that would cause inflation. Well, inflation's a tax. It's a hidden tax. It's annexed. So now you have to pay more for products because there's more dollars than there are goods. So you flooded the market with dollars, and they still got their pet projects, whatever that was. And then we're getting ready to get into this recession. Now, I know that the administration said we're not in a recession. I don't care what the definition is and all that. Well, the definition's always been 2 quarters of negative growth. And we've been through 2 quarters of negative growth. So at least from the old definition, we're in a recession with inflation. So we got a double whammy. Times are going to get bad. And if you're already struggling, or you're thinking that you're really going to struggle, you're not going to make it through this, you need to act now. And you need to go buy yourself a piece of property just like this. Get yourself a house from Home Depot, set it up. And then I gave out some other options. Maybe you got family members that's got some property that you could pay rent to, and you can park your RV in the backyard, or maybe even a shed. Well, inevitably somebody will write, and I got this a lot when we were nomads too, because I said, don't be a nomad. Well, I have to be a nomad. I'm out of money. I got to live in a national forest. And I kept saying, no, there's better options. I mean, I found a place before we became nomads, 8 acres for $350. You can find those places. In this particular case, to kind of give you an idea what it was, is a brother and sister inherited their parents' house. They didn't want to sell it. It was a beautiful house, lots of property. They didn't want to sell it, but they didn't want to maintain it either. They didn't want to have to cut the grass and take care of the place and keep the vagrants out. So they rented it really cheap. All I had to do was cut the grass. That's it. I put a security system in because it was burglarized. And beyond that, cheap place to live. And so I kept saying that during the nomadic lifestyle. Well, same thing now. Sure enough, I got somebody to say, I'm already out of money. And Florida won't let me get a shed and put it on the back lot, somebody's house, or I can't find any property for $4,200 like you did. And I never understood this. So you can't get a shed in Florida. Then move. I got that a lot when I was a nomad, California. Rent's so high in California, I can't do that. Well, you can't find a place for $350 in California. Then get out of California. Get out of New York. If it's high price there and you can't afford it, then you don't need to be there. Why stay? What's keeping you? This is the thing that I struggle with. I would rather go homeless, get in a van, live in a national forest, be homeless. In this particular case, the person has a kid. So now you're going to force your kid to be homeless. Place with no showers. You're going to be taking sponge baths. You're always going to be struggling to find water. It's almost impossible to find water. It was one of the biggest chores that I had as a nomad, constantly researching where I'm going to find water. Because Florida won't let you live in a shed. I would not do it. I would never ever call myself homeless. I'm not going to do it. I am not going to be put in a position where I'm out of money and I have no choice but to be forced to do something. Then later somebody replied to that comment, said, I live in Florida. I've lived in a shed. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe certain counties won't let you live in a shed, but I did. And then they said, and then Rob threw out some options. You could go get an RV, park it in your family's yard. I mean, think about this. My dad built a house down in Florida, and he had to get a builder's permit to build his house. Well, it took him years to build this house. I mean, he did it by himself. Everything was done by himself, except the roof. I helped him with the roof. I was down there, and I felt like I needed to pay him back for feeding us and all the electricity that we use, so I helped him put the roof on. And I really didn't do much. I just lifted the panels up onto the roof. I didn't do much else. So, but he lived in a fifth wheel, a camper, huge camper, on the property while he was building his house. And they could do that because they had a builder's permit. Now, I recognize you're going to say, well, I can't afford to build anything. Yeah, you could. If you did it like Dad did, and you got a couple 2x4s, you put the 2x4s together one week, and then next month, you put a couple more 2x4s down, you could have this project go indefinitely. Just get the builder's permit. I don't know how much builder's permit was. So I'm kind of just throwing it out there that you can find loopholes in the law. I mean, Dad really did. He is living in the house now, but it took him years to do it. And nobody complained. Everybody thought it was cool that he was building a house. It's just an excuse to say I'm homeless. And I don't understand the point. You're desperate, you're scared, and you're not going to take any action. The other option is just move out of the state. I just don't understand why you wouldn't move out of state. People always ask me, how did you find this place? I've looked everywhere. No, you didn't look everywhere, because Carolyn, like I say, every day, nearly the last 2 weeks, Carolyn finds property under $10,000 in this area all the time. She goes to Facebook Marketplace, she scrolls around for junk, and sure enough, there'll be a piece of property there. And that's what she did with this. He had it up at one price and down another price and up and down, and it was on the market forever on Facebook Marketplace. He didn't want to do rent to own. He didn't want banks involved. He wanted somebody to pay him cash. So Carolyn called him up and he said, I'll meet you at the title company. We'll get a warranted title. I met him at the title company. I showed him I had the cash. We went into the title company. The title company did their thing. I paid them 150 bucks, gave him the cash, and we had the property. It was ours. It was just that simple. But no, everybody's wanting to go through realtors and you want to pay all the realtor costs. But what you're looking for is a loan. Well, in that video where this woman says, I can't do what you're telling me to do because you're not listening to what I told you to do. Sell everything. Everything. Silverware. Everything. Get rid of it all. Huge yard sale. And sell your house. Sell your car. Get rid of it all. Get yourself an old junker. $500-600 bucks. And you move to a place like this. You don't need anything when you're going to live in a little shed. You don't need a couch. You need a bed. But I wouldn't even move the bed. It's cheaper to go on Amazon and get a bed off Amazon. Silverware. Oh, sell your silverware. That fancy junk that you got, you can go over to Dollar Tree. You can pick up a 4-pack of silverware for $1. Well, maybe $1.50 now because I think it's a $1.50 tree. People don't want to use their imaginations. I'm broke and I have no solution other than to live in a van. It's a crazy solution. I don't know why anybody would want to do it. I mean, granted, I did it. I wasn't forced to do it. We always had the plan that if something happened, we have enough cash that we can just turn around, go back to Missouri, rent a house. Well, we ended up buying a piece of property and we got out on our own terms. So many people can't get out. I'm always hearing about folks that I knew on Facebook and different things when I was a nomad, dying in the desert from heat stroke. Just the other day, another guy I knew died from a heat stroke because they're stuck. They have no money, they can't leave, so they're stuck in the desert in the summertime. 110, 115 degree temperatures, no air conditioner, no water. It's a tough life. Don't do it. So if you'll click onto that video right there, I'd really appreciate it. So if I can inspire you to live your dreams. Thanks for watching.